All right, here we go. So the first question says to write the equation of a line that has a slope of -3/4 and it passes through the point -5, 2. Guys, I haven't asked you this in a while, but what's our go-to formula to write the equation of a line? It is? All right, so if that's your go-to formula, what two pieces of information do you have to know about a line? Slope and y-intercept. You have to know M and you have to know B. They clearly told us M. Pop it right in for M. So now we're writing y equals. I'm going to give the negative to the top number. All right, -3/4 times x and then plus B. Now we need B, the y-intercept. So look at the other clue. They said your line has to pass through this line. Is that his y-intercept? How would you know if it was? Somebody would be 0, but who? X. If x was 0, then that y-coordinate would be your y-intercept, and you'd be done. You could plug the 2 right in. But that's not the y-intercept because x is not 0. So that is a random point on our line. So we're going to borrow it as x and y. We're going to plug it in and solve for b. Let's do it. We're putting 2 in for y, and then equals -3/4 times -5 goes in for x, and then plus b. I'm going to throw 5 over 1, so I have a top and a top and a bottom and a bottom, and now we solve for b. Some of you have gotten really, really good with your calculator, and that's fine. Otherwise, we're going to do it by hand. It says 2 equals, multiply your top, -3 times -5 is 15, over 4 times 1 is 4. The only thing you have to do to get b alone and 15/4 away is do what with your 15/4? Subtract it. It's positive. So we're going to minus 15/4 from both sides. So whatever 2 subtract 15/4 is, that's our y-intercept. That's our b. So either ask your calculator or do it yourself. Put 2 over 1. What's a common denominator between 1 and 4? So I'm going to change this one. That's going to get 8/4 minus 15/4. And that's b. So you only subtract the tops. What's 8 minus 15? Close. 8 minus 15 would be -7 over a common denominator of 4. It doesn't divide, it doesn't reduce, you're done. So now all you have to do is put -7/4 in for that b and call it a day. But you do know the process. Something little is happening. So what happened?
I never get a fraction in the y unless I do that delta.
Well, sometimes the ones on delta math are nice and you don't get a fraction. So they're even nicer than the problems that I give you. But I do remember that on the quiz, some of you were only messing up by not putting the x, right? Wasn't that one of your major?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was all you were doing wrong. You were doing all that beautiful, and you would just forget the x. So don't do anything silly like that. All right, look at number 2. Write the equation of a line that is parallel to that line, and it passes through that point. If you're not smiling, then you are missing out. But guys, we know we have our formula, y equals mx plus b. We hope for m, we hope for b. Who did they tell you? The y-intercept. How do you know that's your y-intercept?
0.
Because x is 0. Guys, you can put that in right now. Y equals mx plus 7. We know that that is our b. All right, but we don't know m. But they did tell you that our line is parallel to that line. Guys, why would they be telling you that our line is parallel to that line? Who are they trying to give you a clue about? Slope. It's a slope clue. If our line is parallel to that line, then what do our slopes have to be? The same. So if we find his slope, we're good to go. So what variable has to be by itself in order to get his slope? Well, you got to get in y equals mx plus b. So you don't even have to do it all the way out. We could say 2y equals -5x plus 8. And then all we have to do is divide by 2. But guys, I'm going to stop. Look at this right now and tell me who his slope is going to end up being. -5/2 doesn't divide, doesn't reduce. So then who do we know our slope has to be parallel to that? So we just put -5/2 in and we're done. So now we know our slope has to be the same one, and we put it in for m, and you're done. Now let's pretend this problem said our line and that line have to be perpendicular. Now what slope would you have used? 2/5, right? The opposite sign, so positive, and then the reciprocal, so 2/5, and then you'd be done. Some of you, I think you see the word parallel perpendicular and you kind of go through the motions, and then at the end of the problem, you use the same slope, but you're like, oh, damn, it was perpendicular. Now it's too late. So just make sure you're reading the question, okay? All right, I thought 3 and 4 were good to put on here. I kept warning you guys when we were writing the equation of a line that horizontal and verticals, they're meant to be nice in the fact that their equation is simple, but man, do you got to put the thought into what his equation is going to be. But there's not a lot of work involved. And these definitely threw people for a loop on the quiz. All right, so we have to write an equation of this line right here. Guys, is it horizontal or vertical? It's a vertical line. Horizontal and vertical lines, they get an equation that either says y equals a number or x equals a number. But that's it. Nice and simple. So I need you guys to look at this line and envision a bunch of points that are on it. And I need you to figure out which coordinate never changes on a vertical line. X. Guys, you don't go right and you don't go left. You stay put. But you go up and you go down like crazy. So the y is changing, but x isn't. And what is the x coordinate of all these points? So that is the line where every x coordinate is 2. So we call that the line x equals 2. And be done. It's that simple. Some of you really struggle, though, to figure out which coordinate that is. That's why I think maybe if you started labeling some, you would see the one that stays the same. All right, now we come over here. What kind of line is that? So his equation is nice and simple. You don't got to go through the whole mx plus b. No. Look at that line, envision a bunch of points that are on it, and figure out which coordinate, x or y, never changes. Who's staying the same, guys? Y, right? We don't go up and we don't go down. Y stays. But we're moving right and left like crazy. So x is all over the place, but y stays the same. And what is the y coordinate that every point on this line has? So that's the line where every y is -4. So we call that the line y equals -4, and be done. All right? So I'd love to see those as a couple easy, quick quiz or test questions. All right. Then this is from our game, our crypto hack, when we were finding x and y intercepts. Guys, the thing about an intercept is he's directly on an axis. So what do we know one of the coordinates has to be on an axis? 0. So when you're finding the x-intercept, guys, you're looking for an x-coordinate when his y is 0. That's an x-intercept. If you're looking for a y-intercept, you're looking for a y-coordinate, but his x-coordinate has to be 0. So this is the one where if you want the x-intercept, leave x, let y be 0. And guys, I showed you a quick trick to this. This is what my teacher used to do. If you're going to let y be 0, what's -5 times 0? It's gone. So cover that part of the problem up and solve what's left. 2x equals 20 is left. So now we solve that, and then that'll be our x-intercept. So divide both sides by 2, and you get 10. So 10 is your x-intercept. And they just have you type it in the answer box. They don't even make you write it as an ordered pair, 10, 0. All right, now let's get the y-intercept. So now we want to solve for y, so let the other variable be 0. And guys, if you let x be 0, what's 2 times 0? It's gone. Cover that up. Who's left? Equals 20. And that's what you solve. And then divide both sides by -5. And your y-intercept is -4. And you're done. And then sometimes I think they have you graph using the intercepts. So you would plot your x-intercept at 10, your y-intercept at -4, connect your dots, and there's your line. Those were the ones where you had to drag the red and blue dot. Delta Math's a little testy about those ones. All right, last problem. This is the very last thing I taught you, so I hope it's the freshest in your mind. You have to solve for all the x and y values that make this inequality true. There are so many x and y values that make it true that we have to show the answer on a graph. So we're going to graph it as a line and then shade where all the answers are. You guys do this one. I'll do it up here. You do it there. Everybody should remember this. We just did it. I don't have to go over you. Watch your solid and dashed lines. If we're gonna graph, we have to get y by itself. I like to put a 1 in front of x so I can see who I'm dividing. Speaking of dividing, you're solving an inequality. Sometimes you gotta flip your symbol. Don't forget. Right? I had to divide by -3, so I flipped my symbol. I scooted my negative number up to the top to make it -1/3, doesn't divide, doesn't reduce, and then -2. So we have slope, we have y-intercept. Let's graph it. Go down 2, and then my slope, rise over run. Rise -1, so down 1, and run 3 to the right. Okay? Last thing we have to watch out for, it's asking us to show where all the y values are less than the points on this line. That means the points on the line are not answers. They are just a boundary. So what kind of line should you use to show that these points aren't answers? Dashed, excellent. And then guys, it's a line. You either shade on this side or you shade on this side. They have asked us to shade where y is less than the line. So we got y values, bless you, getting bigger than our line on this side, and you got y values getting smaller than our line on this side. If we want y to be less, should we shade above or below? Any ordered pair that lands below this line is a solution to that inequality. Okay? So that's kind of basically everything that'll be on this review. You have the rest of the period to get it done. I do have it due tonight. I want you guys getting it done, working hard in class, get it done tonight, and then tomorrow you can come in for another short review without me, and then Thursday is our test.
I'm so confused.
What's wrong?
What is the point of putting the X and the Y?
See, I know, right? Take it now before this review. Hold on one second. Wait, Darren, what's the point of what?
On my